What is going on, people? You got Jay Bear here, going over with some SPL interviews before the season to get to know some of the coaches in the league. And for our first interview, we have none other than Mr. OG Albina himself. Owen, if you want to give a quick introduction to who you are and what you do with Pokemon, your content, any draft and VGC experience.
Yeah, for sure. So, like Jaber said, I'm OG Albina. I make a lot of draft league content, pretty much exclusively draft league content, maybe dabble in some just competitive discussion in general. I've been playing draft since about 2017. I think I've been uploading it since 2018. So I've been around the scene for a long time. And I think I'm a pretty solid draft player, especially in the Wi-Fi scene, winning BBR a couple seasons ago and, being a consistent contender in pretty much every league that I'm in. However, VGC wise, I definitely wouldn't say I'm super experienced. I have played in one VGC league in the past. It was WBG this last year. I did come in second in that. I was pretty cool. I made semifinals, or I made finals and unfortunately lost. And I have played in a fair few amount of regionals in my day. I wouldn't say I super have grinded for them or practiced. It's kind of a more an excuse to travel for me. But I did recently day two in Toronto with a team that Jaber actually made and day two with in Louisville, like same team copy paste. Yeah, I was able to day two, which I think is pretty cool for a singles guy. And I'm hoping that my little bit of VGC draft league experience and a little bit of VGC experience kind of ties together and maybe gets me a good performance here in the SPL.
I'm sure you got a lot more VGC draft experience than anyone or than most people in the league by just playing in one is kind of a
It's
niche. Yeah. And you got the draft and VGC experience, which is awesome. And then this is your first SPL season. You did the analyst work for for season 1 and season 2, which now I'm modeling myself after.
Passed off in the mantle, yeah.
Yeah. And what are your goals for your first season coming off of the bench for SPL?
Oh, it's always to win, for sure. And I don't mean that in the sense of I'm gonna win, everybody else is gonna lose, I'm the best. It's just I don't typically play in these without the intention of winning. Now, do I definitely see myself as an underdog in doing so? 1000%. There's some incredible players in this league, and incredible players in the doubles format, which I don't have that edge yet, right? We'll see. Maybe we end up performing really, really well. My intention is always to kind of sweat it out, grind it out, and win the league every single time. Anything less isn't necessarily a failure, but it's disappointing at the very least. So that's at least my goal coming in, especially my first season. You always want to impress in your first call to the big leagues.
Yeah, I think that's the right mindset to have just going into it. Nobody likes to lose, and just coming in with the intention to win. Just even if you're just the upset story, I feel like that even is better than being the favorite and winning, is getting that upset and winning, and it certainly feels better.
For sure. Everybody loves an underdog.
And then moving into something a little bit less related to the draft scene. We'll bounce back more into that later. But what are your favorite Pokemon in general? And then if that is competitive, why? Or just from childhood?
Well, to a KO reference, I see you. So for me, it's always been Salmon. So I started playing Pokemon in general in Gen 3. It wasn't current Gen 3. So my first games were the Gen 3 games. I played Sapphire. I remember seeing Drake send out the Ments, and as a 10-year-old boy, I was like, wow, this shit is so fire. Big cool dragon. This guy's super cool. And it has always been my favorite ever since then. I do have a lot of success with it in the draft format. I think it's in my top 5 to 10 kill leaders all time because I'm a nerd and I keep track of all of my stats ever. So I use it a lot. It's definitely something I love using competitively. I love it in Gen 9 in particular. I think it's great with Terra and singles. And to my knowledge, it's not terrible in doubles, especially in draft when, not everybody can have the optimal Tailwind setter or the optimal Intimidate mon. But it's definitely a mixture of both, but always has been my favorite for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And have you done any VGC laddering even with Ments? I think you have, right?
A little bit, yeah. So last reg, what was it? Reg H. I tried early because I really wanted to use Ments because I played for last regulation. I played in Sacramento and I played in Toronto, and I really wanted to use Ments in both. So I was trying out some. It was a special Ments team with sand. It was sand T-Tar, Clarium Drill, all that kind of stuff. And it was fun, and it performed really well low on the ladder, but it just wasn't very consistent. So I didn't feel comfortable bringing it to an event. It wasn't as point and click as the team I end up using with the Sneasler Pult type stuff. So we ended up not going with it, but I did ladder a lot with it. like a ton with it, whether it be in game or on Showdown. I play with a decent amount, so it's a pawn that I actually really want to draft. To be honest with you, it looks like looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, I've had the chance to use it in a Gen 8 VGC league, and I really liked it. Just it's so versatile, that physical and special moveset, and like Tailwind, Intimidate support. Great mon. I do suggest that you try it out if you don't get sniped. And then just kind of moving in similar with that Salamon's pick, are there any Pokemon that you like to look for when constructing a team, or any specific styles that you like to build for, not necessarily giving away your draft or anything?
Yeah, so I mean, I've talked to you about this obviously because you're kind of my go-to knowledge guy for VGC. Yeah. I do not feel comfortable playing anything but offense in VGC. I don't think I have the foundations of the game down as well as singles, obviously. Where singles, I feel pretty confident in playing any play style. In this last BBL season, for example, I drafted a pretty standard bulky offense team, but we ran screens HO a couple times. We ran a full stall build in Gen 9 with Sableye, Quaquaval as the backbone. I feel pretty confident in my ability to play versatile team styles in singles, and doubles its offense because I point and click. I know what my lines are. I know what my offensive guys are going to do and how they're going to do it. So I feel much more comfortable. For example, the one VGC league I played in, I had Pow Knight, Chien-Pao Dragonite, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And the way I kind of was able to make it simple for myself, and again, I don't know if this is the objective correct way of looking at things, so viewers at home, don't take this like word for like truth guaranteed. I kind of liked looking at it in modes to where I had like my Pow D-Knight mode. I had Spectre Metagross, so I could kind of, have that like Bulldoze plus Metagross mode. But I also had like Pow plus Metagross because strong bullet punch priority. I had like a different Tailwind mode with Iron Jugulis and a couple other threats. So I kind of enjoy drafting like that, but pretty darn offensively. I did learn to kind of dip into the bulk a little bit. Magmar is one of my favorite guys I used that season. I didn't lose a game or a set when I brought Magmar. And that was obviously more bulky, redirection, burning things with Willow and things of the sort. So, but definitely I lean more offensive. So in my first round, I am looking to get something that is really overwhelming and like present offensively, opposed to, those whimsicots to the board that are incredible support pieces, but they are support pieces,
Yeah, that makes total sense. Then with these teams, you like to build, I imagine, because you said you like your structured like modes. I assume you like to build with very like a game plan oriented build, as opposed to these mons I know do good and I think I can make them work, but I don't necessarily know how going into it.
Yeah, I mean, I play like that in singles, though, and I think in draft in particular, that's like the key to consistency is, and again, we always talk about in singles as having a guaranteed set lead. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case in doubles. Very, very different game, obviously. But having a set plan, and we always say like have that flow chart of the first couple turns planned out, I think that's especially the case for me in VGC because I don't have the knowledge to pilot like that, like I do in singles. So it's 100%, I think, like, the differentiator for me doing well in this league or absolutely floundering in this league is going to be me kind of out preparing my opponents, especially because there's so many great doubles players that maybe don't have the same draft experience that I have. I'm hoping that the build support and the pre-planning really comes into play this season. We're able to kind of sneak out some wins maybe that we wouldn't be expected to due to that.
Yeah, that's fire. And do you like to, with the game 2 and game 3, especially like game 2, do you often go into your matchups with like a set plan, like if this works game 1 I'm going to go with it again, or if it doesn't work, how do you like pivot? So, like, what's your thought process with that?
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because game 1 I always feel very confident what I'm going to do, blah blah. The way I think, and again, I didn't even really think about it to be honest too much, but thinking back to when I played in WBG last season with like my one VGC draft experience, if something worked the first game, I felt pretty confident that I could run with it the second game and see what your adjustment is to it and either win or have that one game cushion. Because I did feel pretty confident being able to, especially if you win that first game, being able to adjust from there. Now, if say I go in with the set game plan of, this line, it doesn't work, I did see myself kind of tend to pivot away from that and be like, okay, well, they have an answer. Let's see if I can change it up. I kind of had to think of, and it also goes into the mind game of like kind of thinking of like, okay, they saw that they beat this. If they're expecting me to not bring this same line, which I'm not, how are they going to adjust? And it might switch things up a little bit. So I'm big on getting that first game win if at all possible, like just kind of throwing it all at them, because then I have more time to adjust and pivot if say we do lose a game 2 or something of the sorts.
Yeah, And coming from like that singles background, like especially like you never play like best of threes in draft, like almost like defeats the purpose
No.
of your awesome tech. Do you like the best of three in VGC, or do you wish it was best of one?
I think it makes sense in VGC, especially because games are so fast. I kind of like best of three in VGC because it gives me more time to mess up and screw up. If it was best of one, I also think like the nature of VGC. I mean, I don't know. I only say this for lack of a better word. VGC it's a bit more gimmicky to me, right? There's a lot of like cheesy kind of things you can do that you can't get away with singles because you got one on the field. So having the time to adjust and deal with that accordingly, it feels a little bit better too, especially because the games are so fast paced too. One turn of unluckiness, whether it be a rock slide flinch or a miss or whatever it may be, can also just completely lose you the game. And vice versa, it can completely win you the game. So I like it, and I like in doubles. I also think it's very intense. I love going to game three. Like the competitive side is like, oh shit, this is intense. This is really fun. Singles, obviously, you don't go to best of three if you just have one team. But I have played in tournaments like GG Inc. held a multi-generation draft tournament, and when you got to the top side of the bracket, top 32, it was best of three from there on out. And my buddy Kaz's league is also best of three because it's 3 different formats, and that's also really exciting because obviously you can't really do singles best of 3. The games are too long. You kind of reveal everything when you're playing singles too. But when you're doing with multiple generations and you go to that game 3, I mean, it definitely is a different level of exciting and there's a different level of intensity.
Yeah, I really enjoy like the best of 3 nature of VGC too, just because it gives me 2 effectively I can build 2 teams. Like I know we'll need some mon overlap, but like you can kind of get away with almost building 2 teams in a given week.
Oh yeah, especially in draft when your team is going to be so versatile and have so many different things it can do. You got 11 guys on the team that you can kind of formulate an entire couple structures around. Especially because there's only 4 months coming, so like it leads to a lot of creativity for sure.
And then kind of going a little bit more towards like the actual season itself. Are there any coaches that you are really wanting to battle, or like any rivals that you see yourself having in this league?
Oh, I always love playing Amel. Amel's a good friend of mine, and I think that the way his brain works for singles is great for doubles as well. I think he's very, very creative. Mounty is another great singles player as well that I'd love to like kind of test my stuff against and doubles. I also want to play Joey again really badly because I beat him in BBL, but he beat me twice in one season in BBR. So I'd also love to get get the series score be even, especially in a format that he's also not super familiar with. Not that he's obviously like never played VGC before, but not as familiar with. And then there's a bunch of great doubles players that I watch content from. Cybertron, Moxie. A lot of these guys are great VGC players that I probably won't have the opportunity to play in many other instances. So I think playing any of those guys would be cool. I mean, it's a really cool roster in general. I'm actually really excited for this season. Really, really unique roster, obviously, with the blending of singles and doubles.
Yeah, I was going through their roster, and there was a lot of names. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I watched like there's a whole 20 coaches, which is more than pretty much every league, especially for like this one being one draft pool and doing a whole 20 coaches. I'm like, I watch every single one of these people. I'm like, at least some weekly, some closer to monthly, just because it's 20 people. There's not a lot of content I can consume all of the time, but like all of these people are showing up on my recommended, on my sub box. Like it was an awesome league to see come together.
Oh yeah, especially as you're someone like, I mean, again, you're more into both scenes than I am. You play a lot of singles and you play a lot of doubles. As a VGC guy, but also a big singles guy in the showdown scene. So I'm sure it's even more overlap for you.
Yeah, and lastly, are there any other things that you want to tell the viewers? Anything that we haven't said, or you want to like get people to know you?
I mean, yeah, I'm obviously very, very excited for the season. It's going to be a bit of a learning experience. Again, we've played one before, but I'm pretty confident in my ability to do well this season. I'm definitely really excited. If you enjoy Draft League content and this is your first exposure to Draft League in general, even if you're a doubles fan, and you want to look a little bit more into the single side of things, I upload a lot of videos, whether it be my own games, my own tournaments, or a lot of discussion videos. So I think my channel is a great place to learn if you haven't, seen a lot of Draft League content up to this point. And yeah, I'm excited to see draft notes continue and you carry on the mantle here this season. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, thank you for passing draft notes to me. And
of course,
everyone, be sure to check out Owen in the description. I'm sure if you're watching me, you definitely already are subbed and know who Owen is. But in case you haven't, you're just coming from Exterior SPL, make sure to go sub to Owen and also all of the other SPL coaches down in the description below as we look towards an awesome season. And yeah, see you guys next time. Peace.